He still went through the struggle. He didn't know what he was doing. And between Romans 7 and Philippians 4, between the struggling Paul and the victorious Paul, he had some form of second encounter with Christ. It wasn't on the road to Damascus. It wasn't exactly the same as it was when he first got saved. But in order for Paul to get to the point where he could say that I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength, something had to happen. Something had to happen. And this is kind of the basis of what the Nazarene church preaches. And that's why I love my church, because we base it on what the Word says. And I think it's amazing. And this second encounter, if you will simply grasp this idea, it's going to revolutionize the way you look at God. So we have, follow me here. We went over this, I'm going to say it again. Struggling Paul, victorious Paul. What happened in the middle? Let's see what happened to Paul. Everyone turn to 2 Corinthians chapter 12. 2 Corinthians chapter 12. Second Corinthians chapter 12. In church, this is where you have to get excited. I'm telling you, if you don't get excited, I don't know what I'm going to do with you guys, because you guys are going to have to, even if you're not excited, act like it, because this is revolutionary right here. 2 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 7. We're going to read verses 7 through 10. To keep me from becoming conceited because of these surpassingly great revelations, there was given me a thorn in the flesh, a messenger of Satan to torment me. 3 times I pleaded with the Lord to take it away from me, but he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you. My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in your weakness. Therefore, I will boast all the more gladly about my weaknesses, so that Christ's power may rest on me. That is why, for Christ's sake, I delight in weaknesses, in insults, in hardship, in persecution, in difficulties. For when I am weak, that is when I am strong. My grace is sufficient for you. This is Paul's second encounter with Christ. Between Romans 7 of him struggling with sin and Philippians 4 of him being victorious with Christ, he had this second encounter with God where God said to him, Paul, do not worry. My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in your weakness. My power is made perfect in weakness. Did he deserve it? No, he did not. Did he earn it? No, he did not. Did he apply for it? No, he did not. It is simply grace. It is simply grace. When you're working at a job, you put in a certain amount of hours, you earn a wage. You earn your salary. When you win a competition, you receive a prize. When you get recognition for your accomplishments, you get an award. When you don't deserve wages, a prize, or an award, that's what grace is called. You didn't do anything to earn it. You don't deserve it. But God, in his supreme goodness, God, in his supreme goodness, is able to bestow upon you the grace that is necessary to get through your trials. Did Paul earn it? No. Did he deserve it? No. It's grace. It's what he asked for. You see, Paul had a thorn in his flesh, and theologians debate what this thorn meant. Some say it was his mother-in-law. A few of you got it. Some of you are catching on now. A few of you more caught on now. And a few of you more caught on now. So I think we got the whole crowd understanding what my joke was. My mom, I'm dead serious. I'm not joking here. Paul had a thorn in his flesh. It was a weakness. It was something that brought him down. It was a struggle that Paul always had, and this thorn in his flesh was with him. And so during his walk with the Lord, he asked God 3 times to take it away. And when we say 3 times, that did not mean he said it once on a Sunday, once on a Wednesday, another time on the next Sunday. That's not what Paul is saying here. 3 periods of his life he was praying for this thing. 3 seasons of his life he was asking God to remove this thorn from his flesh, this weakness, this obstacle that was holding him back. And so at one point, God, I guess, being tired of listening to Paul's request, said, Paul, you don't understand. Your struggle is there on purpose. You're going through that trial for a reason. The obstacles that are in your way right now are there for a purpose. And I want you to get this right now. God's power is best displayed on the backdrop of human weakness. Write this down. Memorize it. God's power is best displayed on the backdrop of human weakness. You see, did God take away Paul's struggle? No. Did God take away that thorn in his flesh that was tormenting him year after year? No, he did not. But God gave Paul a revelation that changed his life forever. And that revelation was that God's grace is sufficient. God's grace is sufficient. You see, that thorn was there on purpose. Rather than removing the problem, God granted the grace or the power to get through it. God may not take you out of your storm, but he'll always grant you the strength to get through it. He may not remove you from the situation you find yourself in, but he will always give you that power to get through that problem you're going through. Amen. He may not make that problem go away, but he's going to grant you that grace, that power to get through it. Amen. God may not remove that thorn in your flesh right now, but you better bet your life on it that he's going to give you that strength to get through. I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. Because you see, you need to realize this point. God's grace is sufficient for you. Stop praying for God to take away your problems. My friend, problems are a part of life. Ask God to give you the strength to get through it, because we know that the testing of our faith produces perseverance. Perseverance produces character. Character produces hope. Amen. You see, it all seems to come together. The Bible is not just it's not just a bunch of stories that they decided to put in one book. You see, one thing ties into another. One thing that was written in the Old Testament ties in with what the New Testament is. And this is what makes so much sense about Christianity. It's not just a bunch of stories, a bunch of fables. This is real life stuff. This is stuff that can change your life. But the fact of the matter is, a lot of Christians leave their Bible on the shelf throughout the whole week and bring it to Sunday and expect to have some sort of divine, magical something with God. It's not going to happen. Because, look, when you come to church, if you're not in the zone, if you've been living your whole week yelling at your wife, and you show up at church and expect to have the peace of God settling within your soul, it's not going to happen. You spend your whole week abusing your child, and you expect to come here and receive a blessing from the divine creator of all things? It's not going to happen. Because you see, Christianity is a daily thing. You work out your salvation daily. You're not just a Christian within the walls of the church. Look, for me, this is something I came up with in order for me to understand Christians better. There's 2 types of Christians. 2 types. There's Christian, and there's Christian.